Well guys, this is a PC I just built with the Ryzen 9 9950X, the absolute top of the line, top performer from the new AMD Ryzen 9000 lineup, and I actually don't recommend you guys buy one of these CPUs. I think the people who would actually need to buy this CPU are exactly zero. Well, there is a small percentage of use cases where this makes sense, and I will actually talk about it right off the get-go to get it out of the way, and then I will tell you why I think that this is not a good buy for anyone else. Well, if you have a Ryzen 7000 system and you want more cores without getting a new platform, new motherboard, etc., and you are sure you just need 16 cores, then yes, buy this CPU as an upgrade path. But definitely do not buy a brand new PC around this thing. Let's get straight into why. Now this, the flagship CPU, has a dual CCD design with 8 cores each, so 16 cores, hyper-threaded, so 32 threads. Yet, performance-wise, in multi-threading, we are just right now on the edge of being the same of a 13th gen i9, which was not crashing and which was actually running properly. That alone is a pretty bad introduction if you ask me, but the real reason why you should not buy this is because most people buy this for gaming. And now I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, no, this is a productivity CPU. And if you're thinking that, maybe you're subscribed to the channel, maybe you're a tech guy, you know how things work. But unfortunately, what people think is that a higher number means higher performance. And that's due to Intel. It's Intel's fault, as usual. So an i9 will always outperform an i7 in gaming. Well, that's simply not the case with the Ryzen 9. So this thing is slower than a Ryzen 7 9700X in gaming. And as crazy as it may seem, that's not really the case at stock. At stock they're the same, but if you tweak, just go ahead and tune your RAM on the Ryzen 7, and of course do the same on the Ryzen 9 and tune the CPU. Since the Ryzen 7 is a single CCD CPU, it's gonna have lower latency, very little, but still lower latency, but it's gonna be able to clock higher. So it's gonna be a much better buy than the Ryzen 9, unfortunately. So for gaming, this is pointless, especially because, elephant in the room, we have the X3D chips, which quite simply demolish Intel, demolish the whole lineup. If you buy a Ryzen 7 9800 X3D, it's gonna destroy this thing in gaming. We are talking 30% faster than this. And even if you buy a Ryzen 7 7800 X3D from last gen, it's gonna be a lot better than this in gaming. So for gaming, this makes zero sense. But now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but this is a productivity CPU. This is a stupid video. Well, this CPU in productivity is kind of trash. No, I'm kidding, but it's not that good, okay? So my main workload is actually productivity, and I've tried this thing. I decided to buy a Ryzen 7 9700X in the end for my personal system, because if I'm editing in Premiere Pro or Photoshop or doing AI stuff, this is simply slower. Again, we go back to the tweaking thing. So single CCD CPU, undervolted, as I show on the channel, tweaked properly, is gonna be slightly faster. But for the sake of this video, we can suppose that they are the same. Okay, so let's suppose that single thread performance is the same. This thing is a lot better in multi-thread. In modern applications, you never need this unless you're doing a CPU-only rendering. You literally never need it because it's always GPU bound. Premiere, rendering, even in the timeline, always using the GPU. So you're better off just saving the money here and spending it on a GPU. So if you want to overspend on your graphics card, okay? Just if you really want to waste money, just waste it there. I don't think it's good to waste it on a CPU. Another thing is cooling, okay? So this thing has 16 cores, 32 threads. Now sure, it is not a power hungry CPU. It runs pretty quiet. You can run it even on a lower end motherboard fine actually, and it's gonna downclock itself. But if you have a lower end cooler, this CPU is gonna downclock itself. So you're leaving performance on the table. So you need to get a higher end cooler. If you get a higher end cooler, if you got a Ryzen 7, for example, you could tweak it better. Or you could just leave it at stock and save money on the cooler. In that regards, also, it doesn't make sense. Even if you're gaming with an undersized cooler, since we have so many cores, the algorithm which boosts just the core you're using works pretty well, but you're still putting out more heat than you need. Generally, buying this CPU also leads people to buying an X670 motherboard, which is literally a scam because it's basically an X670E and it's another overpriced piece of tech. So all in all, I really don't like the systems which I've seen around of people using this CPU where they really don't need it and they're just buying it because it's the flagship and they want the higher number. Most cases, you're better off with a Ryzen 7. Here is the most ambiguous take, which we can discuss in the comments if you want. I like to have healthy discussion down below. If you really need the multi-core performance, I would personally buy an Intel Core Ultra 9 285K. Now I'm waiting for the comments roasting me, but listen, that CPU is not actually too bad, okay? The launch reviews, sure, they were not the best, but new architecture, not optimized. Now it is already a lot better, and if you tune that thing, it's a beast. And even without hyper-threading, even at stock, even at launch, it beats this Ryzen. And here's the crazy thing. In Italy, this thing is 600 bucks. The i9 is basically the same price, sometimes even cheaper. And I would actually pay more for the i9. If we were talking 10% more, I'd pay for it. And I'd get the all-new platform from Intel. And I think if you really need the multi-threading power, that's the way to go. That's also gonna be better in gaming if you tweak it properly again. But if you're gaming, X3D is gonna be the best choice, or a more value-oriented play. Productivity with no multi-core, it's gonna be the Ryzen 7 9700X, best value CPU out there at the moment, in my opinion. So this CPU has no place in today's market. But let me know down below what you think about it, and if you bought one, I apologize for not making this video sooner, but jokes aside, it's still a good CPU, okay? It's not a bad CPU. I just think it's not worth the price, and I think you can make a better choice if you're still in time for it. And with that said, I hope to see you guys again. Maybe drop a like and a follow to see more of my unasked opinions, and nothing. Wish you a very good day. Bye bye.